they've calculated that if you look at this map, that within 4 hours flying time of Dubai, there are over 2 billion people. 2 billion people. And the reason Emirates is buying so many of the super jumbo jets, of the Airbus 380, is not really to take European tourists to Australia. It's to take Asian workers to the Middle East, because you can get up to 600 to 700 of them in one of these Airbuses that's configured in the right direction. Now, whether this will all work out, it's a very vulnerable part of the world. Someone has said, all it takes is 2 terrorist incidents in Dubai to shut things down. I mean, and you saw how vulnerable Dubai was in 2008 and 2009 when the markets began to shudder. But Dubai's lucky it has Abu Dhabi to the south to look after it, and it always will, in my judgment. Saudi Arabia is an interesting case because Saudi Arabia is not competing for flashy tourism. It wants tourists, but certain kind. I do not see any time in the near future where you will be able to get a beer in Saudi Arabia. And most tourists, I don't care whether they are Asian or European or Americans, like to have a beer. And that's you can get a beer in Dubai, okay? But Saudi Arabia is engaged in this extraordinary rail expansion. And would that our expansion here at home were anything like this. You have under construction these super fast trains crisscrossing the country and going all the way to the north. Now, just imagine that if there were ever a settlement of this little problem up here, the distances are tiny. Once you have gotten to the end of Saudi Arabia, you're talking about road-rail connections to the Mediterranean. That would take a matter of 10 minutes by fast train. So again, thinking into the future, connecting up the Middle East to the Mediterranean is the second part of the geographical, logistical equation I'm trying to put to you today, where Asia is being connected to the Middle East and Central Asia, and the Middle East is being connected more and more to Europe. This brings me to sort of the last set of issues I want to mention before we open it up for questions. Security. Where there is money, there is always conflict. And this map just illustrates only one of the many, many security problems that come about when you have so much commercial traffic in such an important area. This is a map of piracy between 2003 and 2009, and you will see by far the most number of attacks have been, guess what, off the coast of Somalia. Why have there been so many attacks off the coast of Somalia? Because there is no government in Somalia. It is a failed state. And you had, what happened is you had unemployed fishermen, and incidentally, one of the reasons they were unemployed is because Asian and European factory ships had been sweeping the coast for years and cleaned out the fish population, overfished dramatically, so they didn't have any money. So someone said to them, hey, look, there's bigger fish out there than snapper. And this is now huge business. And the pirates are, of course, many times are in cahoots with the captains of the ships. The companies are quite willing to pay the ransom. So that's why this is such a difficult problem to control. But one of the things that the piracy in the Western Indian Ocean has done is it's for the first time has brought about maritime collaboration between the major maritime states that use the Indian Ocean. So you have Chinese, Pakistani, some Indian, but less Indian at the moment than we expect in the future, British, French, American naval forces, not operating together under a single command, but at least operating in conjunction with each other to try to do something about the problem. Of course, it's a virtually impossible problem to solve because of the nature of the piracy itself, where there's collusion and everything. And secondly, the coast of Somalia is it's as long as the eastern seaboard of the United States. So it's a lot of coastline. And of course, one of the reasons one puts a map like this up and talks about piracy is because it derives from the lack of control of the government, and why it's such a nightmare to contemplate anything happening to Pakistan. Because if you think Somalia is a problem, imagine if anything were to happen to Pakistan and it were to become the equivalent of an ungovernable state. There it is, 170 million people with nuclear weapons sitting astride the richest sea lanes in the world in terms of merchandise. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you want to scratch me and ask me why this administration is so insistent that we have to stay in Afghanistan, it is frankly not because of the education of women, even though that is a noble cause. It is because of Pakistan and the fear that something might happen there. This relates then to the last big strategic issue. Given the amount of wealth that is generated between Asia and the Middle East, given the stakes we all have, Europeans, Americans, in stability, because nobody wants to see Pakistan go down the tube, nobody wants to see a war with Iran, I don't think, nobody wants to see chaos, because that's, as they said in the movie The Godfather, blood's bad for business. The Chinese don't want war, we don't want war, the Indians don't want war. I don't think many people, certainly the rich Gulfies, do not want war, okay? But the question is, what will the strategic map look like? And this comes back to the point I made earlier, that there is a debate that's just beginning in this country about how long we're going to stay in Southwest Asia, how long we're going to stay in the Gulf, how long we're going to stay as the policemen of the Indian Ocean, because I could pick you up an article written in The Nation or one in Pat Buchanan's magazine, The American Conservative, the left and the right, both asking questions about why are we in Afghanistan, why are we in Iraq, what are we doing in Korea, why on earth do we have a base in Okinawa when the Japanese, the second richest country in the world? We've done our share. We've done our bit. It's time to come home. And you add to that the economic question, the so-called fiscal overstretch argument, that we can't afford this anymore. We can't afford to be the policeman of the world, let alone an area of the world where other people are getting rich very, very quickly.